critical values are an important part of our hypothesis testing. We're going to use our critical value to help us understand whether or not we should reject or fail to reject our null hypothesis. While our critical values are typically pretty standard based on whether we're looking for a 95% level or a 90% level or a 99% level. However, we can also calculate those values using Excel. So let's go through and let's calculate our critical values. If we have a two-tailed test, we're actually going to use our critical values of alpha over 2. To calculate those, we can use the norm.s.inverse function so that we can get the right-hand side of the distribution. Let's say, for example, we want to use an alpha value of 0.05, then that gives us our critical value of 2.576 using that function. So that gives us our right-hand side of the distribution. To calculate the left-hand side of the distribution, we'll use the same formula. However, since we're getting the left-hand side, it will be the negative value. So in this case, it will be negative 2.576. By setting up this function, I can change my level of significance. So let's say instead of a 0.01 or 99%, I want to use 95%. I can change this value then to 0.05 and it automatically updates my critical values. Let's take a look next at our right-tailed test. With our right-tailed test, we're just using the value of alpha instead of alpha over 2. So here, let's assume that we're solving for an alpha value of 0.05. Our critical value then will be our norm.s.inverse of 1 minus our value of 0.05. In this case then, our critical value is 1.645. With our left-tailed test, we're looking at our alpha on the left-hand side of our distribution. So here, let's assume we're using an alpha of 0.01. We can now solve to get the critical value using, again, our negative, since we're looking at the left-hand side, of the norm.s.inverse of 1 minus our value of 0.10. So our critical value here then is negative 1.282, which corresponds to our alpha level of 0.10 or 90%. The benefit of setting up these tables like this is that rather than going to the tables in the back of your textbook, you can now input whatever level that you have for your level of significance and the values change automatically. So again, in this case, if I change 0.10 to 0.05, it also automatically updates, and I know exactly what the critical value is when I use it for my hypothesis test.